microphone properly. Good morning, everyone. I'm going to gavel us in to begin our Community Development Recommending Board. At this time, I'd like to call this meeting to order and do a roll call.
Chair Miller,
Chair Miller present.
Co-Chair McKnight,
Present.
Member Marlin,
Present.
Member Haddad Bennett,
Present.
Member Prado,
Present.
Member Lathrop,
Present.
Member Burks,
Present.
Member Jackson,
Present.
Member Thomas,
Present.
Member Connors, Member Nordstrom,
Present.
Member Jones Zangaro.
Present.
Thank you, Chair. You have a quorum.
Thank you very much. At this time, we are in full compliance with open meeting law.
Yes, Chair, we are.
Thank you very much. Moving on to item 3 on our agenda, public comment. Comment during this portion of the agenda must be limited to matters on the agenda for action. If you wish to be heard, come forward and give your name for the record. The amount of discussion as well as the amount of time any speaker is allowed may be limited. Do we have any public comment at this time? Seeing none, we'll move on to item 4 for possible action to approve the final minutes by reference to the regular meetings on February 12th, 14th, and 26th of 2024.
Member McKnight recommends approval of the minutes of February 12th and 14th and 26th of 2024.
Member Haddad Bennett, a second.
Okay, so we have had a move and a second for possible approval of the final minutes by reference of the regular meetings on February 12th, 14th, and 26th of 2024. At this time, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Seeing none, that is unanimous. Thank you very much. Moving on to item number 5, discussion of possible action regarding the election of chair and co-chair. And I will open the floor up for any nominations at this time.
Member McKnight recommend Carmen for chair.
Member Prado, second.
Okay, is this the time I ask for discussion, or do I accept? I want to make sure I do this properly. Okay, so we have had a motion and a second for Member Carmen LaShawn Miller, myself, to remain as chair. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to co-chair. I'll open the floor for nominations for co-chair for the Community Development Recommending Board, agenda item 5. Anyone want to make a motion or at this time? The chair recognizes Member Haddad Bennett.
Thank you, Member Haddad Bennett. I'd like to nominate Member McKnight for co-chair, to remain co-chair.
Okay, we've had a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second was
Dave
made by...
Marlin.
Thank you, Member Marlin. Okay, so we've had a motion and a second for co-chair. Consideration of Member McKnight. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Seeing none, it is unanimous. Thank you very much. And we'll continue on with our business. Moving on to agenda item number 6, a report by Colleen Dowiger, Grant Program Coordinator regarding Housing and Urban Development HUD, federal grants, and the allocation of federal funds.
Thank you. Colleen Dowiger, Department of Neighborhood Services. On October 16, 2023, the Department of Neighborhood Services released requests for proposals for the Community Development Block Grant, CDBG, and Housing Opportunities for Persons with AIDS, HOPWA programs. Interested agencies were given the opportunity to respond to the requests for proposals from October 16, 2023 through November 16, 2023. The grant funds for each of these programs were designated as two-year grants, which were designed to provide funds for selected agencies in fiscal year 2024 to 2025 and fiscal year 2025 to 2026. The Community Development Recommending Board, CDRB, reviewed applications and hosted agency presentations on February 12th, 2024 and February 14th, 2024, and deliberated on awards February 26, 2024. 14 agencies were awarded CDBG funding in the amount of $785,500. One agency, Communities and Schools of Nevada, has withdrawn from consideration of second-year funding. 6 agencies were awarded HOPWA funding in the amount of $2,999,999.99. Agencies that were awarded grant funding were informed that second-year funding was contingent upon each agency meeting their established performance measures, including timely reporting to city staff per each agency's agreement with the city. The Department of Neighborhood Services met regularly with agencies that were awarded funds during the grant cycle to provide support and direction in the management of their funds. Today, the CDRB will recommend a level of funding for each CDBG and HOPWA recipient for fiscal year 2025 to 2026. The Department of Neighborhood Services has provided the CDRB with information on each agency's performance for review. The CDRB will evaluate the performance of all funded agencies. Agencies that have met performance measures are not required to attend today. This is in reference to Agenda Items 7 and 8. Agencies that did not meet performance measures will have the opportunity today to speak to the CDRB on their own behalf. This is in reference to Agenda Items 9 and 10. The agencies will be provided up to 5 minutes to respond to staff comments regarding performance. Community Development Recommending Board members will be provided up to 5 minutes to ask questions and hear responses from the agencies. The CDRB will vote today on a recommendation to approve funding, reduce funding by 20%, or deny funding for CDBG and HOPWA grant recipients for fiscal year 2025 to 2026. At this time, I would like to ask all board members to disclose any potential conflicts of interest you may have with any of the agencies on the agenda today.
Chair recognizes Member Latham.
Yeah, I must recuse myself for the discussion and vote on the Desert Spring Community Resource Center due to some family connections.
Thank you, Member Lansbrough. Is there anyone else?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, colleague. Appreciate that. Chair Miller. Oh, thank you. Thank you. I have to be on the microphone. Thank you, everyone, for that update and report. So as we move on to Agenda Item 7, City, I have a question. So after I read this discussion and we have a discussion, we vote to that and go on to the next agenda item. So do I need to call for a vote on 7 and 8?
Yes.
Thank you very much. I just wanted clarification. Okay, thank you. Okay, we're moving on to agenda item number 7, discussion for possible action regarding the Department of Neighborhood Services recommended allocation of funding for fiscal year 2025-2026, Community Development Block Grant CDBG for Foster Kinship, Enhanced Kinship Navigation Program, Catholic Charities of Southern Nevada, Meals on Wheels, Nevada Partnership for Homeless Youth, Safe Place, Youth Outreach and Intervention Program, Helping Hands of Vegas Valley Incorporated, Bus and Volunteer Transportation, and Help of Southern Nevada, Shannon West Homeless Youth Center. At this time, I'll open up the floor for a motion to approve and then also discussion. Chair recognizes Member Thomas.
I move to approve the recommendations for all the agencies listed in item 7 for continued funding.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
And this is Member Nordstrom?
Yes, ma'am, I second.
Thank you. Member Nordstrom seconded. Okay. There has been a motion and a second. Is there any discussion at this time? Seeing none, I will call for a vote. A motion and a second has been made for discussion of possible action for the agencies that have been recommended for allocation of funding. All those in favor, please signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And I believe one, no, not yet. That's somewhere else. My bad, excuse me. I was jumping ahead of myself. I was getting excited. Sorry, I apologize. Okay, with that, we have had it motion moved and unanimously voted that the following agencies, do I need to restate them for the record? Or are we good? We're good. Thank you very much. All right, let's move on to agenda item number 8. Discussion for possible action regarding Department of Neighborhood Services recommended allocation of funding for fiscal year 2025-2026, housing opportunities for people with AIDS, HOPWA. 4, Access to Healthcare Network, Access to Healthcare. AIDS for Aid of Nevada, AFAN, AFAN Housing Services. Women's Development Center, HOPWA program. And CPLC, Chicanos por la Casa, Luces program. Do I have a motion to move forward or a second? I see microphone open. Is that Member Jones Zagaro?
Motion to move forward, Barbara Jones Zangaro.
Okay, thank you, Member Jones Zagaro. Is there a second?
Second, this is Thomas.
Just
Okay.
for clarity, is that the motion to move forward, would that be to approve the recommended funding?
Yes, to move forward, yes, thank you. It was, a motion was made by Member Jones Zagaro and seconded by Member Thomas. Okay, is there any discussion? Seeing none, we have a motion and a second on the floor to move forward to recommendation of funding for the agencies listed. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Are there any opposed? It is unanimous, therefore, that moves forward on agenda item number 8. So, we're ahead of schedule. a little bit, as always, ahead of schedule. Okay, so at this time, do we want to give our first agency some time if they're here? I don't, is she here? Is our president? Oh, okay. So at this, we'll move on to agenda number 9. We're a little ahead of schedule, which I know board members don't have a problem with. We are on agenda item number 9, presentation and discussion for possible action regarding the recommended allocation of funding for fiscal year 2025-2026 Community Development Block Grant, CDBG, for Desert Springs Community Resource Center, supporting seniors in their neighborhood, St. Jude Ranch for Children, St. Jude's Children Victims of Sex Trafficking Program, YMCA, the Young Men's Christian Association of Southern Nevada, Durango Hills, make sure I'm reading that properly, Durango Hills, YMCA Early Childhood Education, Sunrise Children's Foundation, Home Instruction for Parents of Preschool Youngsters, HIPPY, Olive Crest Foster Care Services, Jewish Family Service Agency Senior Lifeline Case Management, Family Promise of Las Vegas, Family Promise of Las Vegas Navigation Center, and the Salvation Army Career Center. According to our agenda, our first presenters are present, and I'd like to call Desert Springs Community Resource Center, supporting centers for their neighborhood. And if you are available, please make sure that you state your name clearly and your position. You'll have 5 minutes to make your presentation, and then 5 minutes we'll open up for question and answer. Welcome and thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. My name is Ray Lathrop, and I serve as the Executive Director of the Desert Spring Community Resource Center. The Desert Spring Community Resource Center's mission is to be a community strengthening partner that provides Southern Nevada neighbors with food, resources, and hope. We serve residents throughout Clark County with a client choice food pantry open about 15 hours per week and offer individual case management for clients needing assistance beyond emergency food. We're located nearest Charleston and Pavilion Center on the far west side of the valley. Through the CDBG funding, so far, we have served 60 City of Las Vegas residents through our food pantry and case management services. We've helped some of those families with additional grocery gift cards provided by 3 Square Food Bank and have hosted a resource fair with over 20 community partners to provide in-person resources to our clients. Clients have been connected to the housing assessment process. Other families were referred to Medicaid and counseled on how to access their health insurance benefits. And we've referred at least 2 families to the SHIFT program when they needed important home repairs. This is our first ever year of receiving CDBG funding, which has allowed us to hire an additional staff member who added important capacity for us to manage our food program and to support our families to navigate additional services. While that original staff member was hired, has already departed, we actually started a new staff member to replace them just last week. As I noted to this committee originally, the paperwork requirements for clients of this grant is more robust than any of our existing programs, so it's taken us a little bit of time to set up our systems and enroll clients. But with the expansion of our team, we are very optimistic in meeting the goals for our first year. Additionally, I want to note that in November, we formally amended our budget so as to be more aligned with the costs of the program. We have begun invoicing according to this new budget and expect to expend the full amount of the grant by June. We're very grateful for the patience, care, and direction that the city staff have given us as we've learned to manage this grant and develop our process. And we want to thank this body for providing this valuable funding to continue to provide important services in our neighborhood. And I'm open to questions if you may have them.
All right, thank you very much, Desert Spring Community Resource Center. At this time, I'll open up the floor to the board. Do they have any questions that they'd like to ask the representative from the Desert Springs Community Resource Center? Chair recognizes Member Jones-Zagaro.
Hi, I'm Barbara Jones-Angaro. I am unfamiliar with your program. Is there plans to expand? You said you serve 60.
We've enrolled 60 residents in our program. We've been operating a food pantry now for almost 3 full years, and we serve quite a large community around the area. We are working one-on-one with clients in order to enroll them and get all the necessary paperwork in order to count them for this grant. So it just takes a little bit of time to build that relationship so they feel comfortable sharing all of the income information that's necessary, but we're working very hard on making sure that happens.
And how do you get new clients?
We're listed on 211. We also have a strong partnership with the high school that's across the street and make sure that the social worker knows that they can refer families in need to us. We work on a couple different outreach strategies with partners similar like that.
Thank you.
Any further questions from board members?
This is Board Member Conyers. Hi, I was curious, do you have volunteers that help distribute food?
Yeah, actually, our food pantry is supported by about 50 regular volunteers every single month. We have volunteers that pick up food rescue from 2 nearby Albertsons. We have volunteers that actually go with and guide each client through the Client Choice Food Pantry in order to check on them, see how they're doing, and also monitor our inventory. And we have other volunteers that help us with deliveries and other donations. So we're very lucky to be supported by a robust volunteer group.
That's wonderful, thank you.
Hi. Thank you. I'm going to recognize Member, make sure I get it right, Jackson.
Hi, my name is Jamie Jackson. And you mentioned about your first person was hired and then that person left.
Yeah.
Can you expand upon why that person left, and if you now have protocols or systems and processes in place for the next person so that, being compliant with the grant will be easier?
That staff member had to leave for very personal reasons, nothing related to our work. And then we did adapt our hiring process in order to make sure that we spent a lot of time on that job description when it was vacant and making sure that it really spoke to the needs of our organization. We expanded that job description to include outreach and partner development so that we could bring more partners on campus to serve our clients. And we feel very confident in that hiring and with our new staff member to be a very beneficial and big value to our organization. Yeah.
Chair recognizes Member Prado.
Really no reservations, and you answered most of my questions that I'd sort of prepped before arriving, but then you said something in your presentation around changing your budget, and I was scrambling through the collateral to understand. Was your budget amended to the $67,300?
No, that was our approved budget. What we did was amended a couple of the line items within that budget.
All right, so shifted within
Yes.
like the categories? And then can you speak to then maybe how your forecasting now reflects that you'll reach 100%, even though
Yeah.
you've had a staff turnover and all that?
Yep, absolutely. So I've been working in the program a little bit myself, and so we've still continued to expend staff line budget. But we really made sure that we were capturing the full cost of the grant. So this grant requires a couple of insurance policies that we hadn't previously had, and so we wanted to make sure that this grant funded paid for some of those insurance policies. And then we've also changed our practice starting in January and are purchasing more food every single week. And so on average, we're purchasing between $700 and $900 worth of produce or eggs to supplement the donations that we receive in the food pantry, and that's a large portion of the budget that had been unspent in the first 6 months.
Great. And is your intent then to do similar things in the upcoming
Absolutely.
cycle with the
Yeah.
insurance and the?
Yep.
Okay. Okay. I'm a little, maybe this is through the chair to the staff, I'm a little unmoored because I don't see a
Yeah, I'm keeping
winding
time
down.
over here because it didn't go. So we've got about 45 seconds. Go ahead,
Okay, I was
Member
about to say, if
Prado.
no one else has anything to say, I'm comfortable making a motion, but also that's usually what triggers it.
Yeah, I think so. I don't know. But go ahead if you are open to that. If there's no further discussion, Member Prado, the floor is yours.
All right, I move to continue funding for Desert Springs Community Resource Center in their originally allocated, or 100% of their originally allocated account for the second year of the grant cycle.
Okay, is there a second?
Member Haddad Bennett, I second.
Okay, so we have had a motion placed on the floor by Member Prado and seconded by Member Haddad Bennett. If there's is there any further discussion? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor, please vote. Do they press a button?
Aye.
Can we just say aye?
Aye.
Aye. All those in
Aye.
favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, and I believe we have one recusal, one abstention, and is there any nays? Okay. All righty. Thank you very much for your time, we appreciate you. Okay, again, I'm ahead of schedule. It's a good thing that I'm ahead of schedule. Is there a representative here from St. Jude's Ranch for Children? If you are, please come forward. Thank you very much for coming and adjusting your schedule. Please remember, you have 5 minutes to make your presentation, and then 5 minutes will be opened for the board to ask you any questions. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Denise Charles. Thank you all for having me here. St. Jude's Ranch for Children is here to present on late reports and no submission of requests for reimbursement. So I'm here today to let you all know that we are working. We've had some internal challenges in our accounting department as well as our leadership department, as well as staffing with getting those requests for reimbursement submitted. This is a specialty population of child sex trafficking victims, so they're all minors. We receive our referrals from Department of Family Services or Department of Juvenile Justice. So although we have only served 5 young people from our last report, we are working diligently to place young people in our program. So we have opened up our healing center. That capacity of that building is 60 beds. We do have to go through licensing with Department of Family Services, so that is a challenge. It can take up to 45 days for that to happen, as well as hiring of staff. So although we've only served 5 young people with the City of Las Vegas funds, we have served a total of 9 clients with our program. So we are working diligently. We just accepted 2 young people through the big search that just occurred in the month of January. So our numbers are projected to be at 20 by the close of the grant.
All right, thank you very much. At this time, I'll open up the floor for any questions for board members for St. Jude's Ranch for Children, St. Jude's Children Victims of Sex Trafficking Program. The chair recognizes Member Thomas.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning. Can you elaborate a little bit more about the specifics of what working diligently to correct or catch up? What does that look like for your team?
So we recently just hired a chief financial officer. With the process for Division of Family Services, there is an extensive background check and fingerprint process that has to occur for all internal employees that work directly or indirectly with children in the Boulder City campus. So we have a chief financial officer starting in a couple of weeks once background comes back. We have hired 16 staff. I am in interviews 3 days out of the week, at least 8 times, to recruit staff to work with this population. It is a specialty population, so we're looking for folks that have residential experience, either partial hospitalization or resident treatment training or experience, to be able to work with young people that are experiencing high needs of victimization as well as trauma. With that, we are working with DFS to identify those young people that have the criteria of either high-risk trafficking or confirmed trafficking, so that way we're able to work on licensing. With everything being a process, there is a delay with that, and staffing has been a concern. So we do recognize that, but I'm in interviews 3 days out of the week. When I leave here, I have interviews.
Thank you.
Thank you. The chair recognizes Member Jones-Seguro.
Good morning, this is Barbara Jones-Angaro. I love what you do. I have 2 questions for you. The first one is, you said you had some issues within your accounting department.
Yes.
Is that just the need to hire a chief financial officer?
Yes, so we lost our chief financial officer, retired in November. At the same time, a month later, we lost our accounting director. So we have been recruiting for both of those positions. We did internally promote one of our accounting specialists to a supervisor position and have reallocated some of our grants to be managed by different personnel within the department.
And my second question, as you said, you receive referrals from the Department of Children's Services. Do you ever actively seek trafficked minors in the homeless population?
So because the organization, well, there's multiple components of the organization. So for this particular project, because it is a residential campus, that campus is for victims of foster care or children that are abused and neglected that are in the foster care system. We don't accept any private pay clients. However, we do have our homeless prevention services as well as transitional and rapid rehousing. So we do have funding for youth that are 18 and older that are victims of human trafficking. This is specialty population for minors.
Thank you.
Chair recognizes Member Prado and then Member Haddad Bennett.
Just a quick question. Hi.
Hi.
So I was just trying to understand, it seems like you're serving clients in a certain percentage of the target, but
Yes.
no reimbursement submissions have been submitted. To your knowledge, has there been expenditures, and the chief challenge is coding and prepping the reimbursement?
Yes.
And do you have a sense for roughly how much of the funds have been used?
So we have services, we provided services to the young people. So we had a program coordinator charged to this particular grant. So a percentage of her time is billed to providing oversight and services to the young people that are in the program. Prior to walking to this room, I did have a phone call with our accounting specialist to see exactly how many billings have been submitted. She said one was submitted for the month of November. However, it was rejected because there were some allocations that needed to be adjusted, and all of the remaining billing for December through January will be submitted by the end of this month.
Chair recognizes Member Haddad Bennett and then Member Marlin.
Thanks so much. Thanks for all you do, and thanks for being here today. So this is really helpful in sort of you explaining the situation with that was part of my question, that there are expenses. It's just a matter of submitting them and getting that all squared away with staff, which I know is a process on both sides. We really have three options today. We can continue funding as is, we can reduce by 20%, or we can reject year 2 funding. Hearing that you guys are doing the work, right, for me, it's really 2 options, but, do you feel that you are truly on track to meet 100% of the request that you've received, which I think is the $50,000? A 20% reduction is $40,000. So our job here is to really balance, right, if that money is going to be used or if it can be sort of squared away with another organization. So do you feel that you're on track to meet that 100% by the end of the grant period, or sort of truly, where do you feel like you're landing?
So this is a 2-year award, but only 1 year of funding was allocated. I'm 100% confident that the time billed for the staff member charged to this grant and our efforts with partnership with DJJS as well as DFS, our licensing process to be able to have young people, we know they exist. There is a need for this type of programming with the organization and various organizations in the community to serve child sex trafficking victims. So they are able to help and grow and learn, so that way they are not 18 and homeless in a different system. So I feel confident that we are able to meet that need by your support with this funding.
Thank you. We're about a minute over, but I did say I wanted to recognize Member Marlin, and then we'll put it to the floor.
I too appreciate what you do, and I'm grateful those services are available. I understand you're going through some staff transition and needing to utilize the budget. You need to do some hiring. At the same time, it looks like none of the reports have come in on time, which puts us in a tougher position. So going forward, please recognize that there's accomplishing what you need to for the grant, and then there's submitting timely reports. Even if you're staffing up, it would be great if you could get the reports in on time.
Yes, thank you. I am responsible for those reports, and with the demand of other responsibilities, I take full accountability for those reports being submitted late. The last 2 reports have been on time, and the report for the month of March, which will be February data, will be submitted today. You have my 100% commitment.
Thank you. All right, at this time, can we put a motion on the floor in reference to the continuing the funding or allocation, so we can move to discussion? Does anybody want to get us started? This is Chair Miller. The chair recognizes Member Jones-Segaro.
I motion to continue the funding.
Okay, we have a motion to renew the funding. Is there a second? Chair recognizes Member Conyers.
I motion to second.
Okay, we've had a motion and a second. The floor is open for discussion. Seeing none, I would call for a vote at this time that we continue the funding for St. Jude's Ranch for Children, St. Jude's Child Victims of Sex Trafficking Program, with recommendations to continue the 2nd year of funding. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? Seeing none, I believe that is unanimous. Am I correct? Yes, I am. and we wanted to continue to encourage your program. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for everyone's time today.
Okay. Staying above schedule, is a representative from the YMCA, Durango Hills YMCA Early Childhood Education Program here. Thank you as you're approaching. Please remember, you have 5 minutes to make your presentation, then the floor will be open for 5 minutes for members, questions from the board. Please make sure that you state your name clearly for the record, and welcome.
I do have some slides for members. Oh, I guess.
Thank you.
Everyone, did I bring enough copies? That is good. It's hit or miss sometimes, so I'm glad I showed up with the right number. All right. Okay. Well, good morning, members of the Community Development Recommending Board and City of Las Vegas staff. It's good to see you all. My name is Jordan May, here on behalf of the YMCA of Southern Nevada to share about our performance under the Community Development Block Grant from the City of Las Vegas. I'm really grateful to provide some context this morning, as I know sometimes the numbers and documentation don't capture the full breadth of our situation. Before I respond to the review of our current performance, I'd like to provide a refresher to the CDRB on the YMCA's early childhood education initiatives in Las Vegas and our history of receiving and stewarding CDBG funding to support this life-changing work. As you may know, the YMCA is one of the oldest and largest charities in Southern Nevada, serving over 60,000 individuals each year. We are committed to helping people of all ages, abilities, backgrounds, and incomes to reach their full potential, ensuring everyone has an opportunity and that no one is turned away due to the inability to pay. After 80 years of impact in Southern Nevada, we have leveraged knowledge gained from our past to guide our current efforts responding to community needs in real time to live up to our mission. An urgent need here in Las Vegas is childcare. In Southern Nevada, only 26% of children under the age of 4 can access licensed childcare, leaving 3 out of 4 of those children at a disadvantage and unprepared for kindergarten. Relative to their income, Nevadan families pay more than any other state in the country for childcare annually. Lastly, there is simply not enough childcare supply to meet the high demand. As the nation's largest nonprofit childcare provider, the YMCA is actively working to address this childcare crisis, to expand infrastructure, and break down all financial barriers. For the past 5 years, the City of Las Vegas has supported our early childhood education initiatives at the Durango Hills YMCA through CDBG funding. We have served 89 children between the ages of 3 and 5 years old, as well as their families. Through CDBG support, which offsets operational costs and provides direct subsidy, we are proud to report that 55% of our families pay $6,000 a year for childcare, which is half of the average cost of childcare in Clark County. On top of that, the remaining 45% of families pay nothing at all through the fundraising work that the YMCA actively pursues every year here in Southern Nevada. In those 5 years, in the partnership between the YMCA and City of Las Vegas, positively impacting lives with CDBG funding, we have had many successes and very few issues. This year, however, due to unforeseen circumstances, our spending has fallen behind our goal. Per the letter we received in February, we had spent 38% of funds as of December 31st, 2024, though as of our last request for reimbursement submitted just yesterday, we are now at 56% spend down. To provide some context for the current spending status, I'd like to talk about some of the factors that have contributed to the delay. Unfortunately, in the last few months of 2024, one of our program administrators had to go on emergency leave due to complications with a newborn child. Though she has tried her hardest to consistently return to work over the last few months, facing uncertainties with a newborn has been a significant hardship. Additionally, to ensure the highest instructional quality is continually met by the YMCA, at the beginning of the school year, we piloted a new instructional standards rubric, which unfortunately led to us having to terminate some of our staff. However, in that time and in the months since, we have leveraged licensed staff paid for by other grants as well as administrators to consistently maintain our 1-to-9 student ratio and have been fully staffed with 3 teachers in the classroom at all times. Lastly, our program runs on the CCSD school year calendar, which means naturally our spending starts a bit behind the grant period. However, as soon as we noticed these patterns, we took immediate action. I'm our grant manager, so we see these numbers coming in and we work actively to address the problems. While each issue might have been resolved in a month or two on its own, the cumulative effect led to missed wages over time, which was reflected in our end-of-year spending status. Based on our current spending level and remaining balance, we have implemented effective strategies to ensure the spend down of funds by the end of the grant period. First, we adjusted the percentages of staff wages allocated to the grant to reflect actual time spent in the program. Second, we have ensured substitutes are ready and available to fill in for program staff, maintain our ratio, and ensure we are sticking to the budgeted wages. Lastly, our preschool programming runs until the end of June, which does coincide with the end of the grant period. So with 4 months left, we have a remaining grant balance of $26,896.76, which requires us to spend roughly $6,700 a month for the next 4 months to expend all funds by the end of the grant period, which is June 30th, 2025, which we are very confident we can do. Again, I'm the grant manager. It is my job to ensure that we are good stewards of the funds that you award to us year after year and ensure that we are performing well enough to receive these funds again next year. On behalf of the YMCA, our early learners, and our families, I just want to say thank you for the continued support. We couldn't do what we do without your help, and I'm here to answer any questions that you may have about this year's performance, next year's performance, or anything in the past. Thanks.
All righty, he came right in on the board. Thank you very much. At this time, I will open the floor up to any board members that may have any questions for our YMCA of Southern Nevada, Durango Hills YMCA Early Childhood Program. I don't have do have a question. This is member Chair Miller. Your assessments, are the assessments, you said you had to let some of the employees go because was this in alignment with what the state assessment is to be in an instruction position?
It was in alignment, but we've taken it a step further. As many of you may know, one of our strategic priorities is childcare. We're actively trying to expand the amount of childcare infrastructure. So with that, we don't want to expand without accounting for the highest quality and going a bit above the standards. So we had a new preschool director join us at the Durango Hills YMCA with an extensive background in early childhood education, and she had some different standards that she wanted to stick to, and we gave her the leeway to make staffing changes as she saw fit. We replaced those teachers as quickly as possible. We have many applications waiting that we wish we had room to hire all of the really well-trained staff. We replaced them very quickly, but those little gaps of the turnover periods, as I said, alone we could have accounted for them in a month or two, but cumulatively it became a bit more than we could address in a month or two, but as you can see by the increased amount going from 38% 2 months ago to 56% now, we have put those strategies in place to make sure that we've overcome those difficulties.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Again, are there any board members that have any questions? If not, I will entertain a motion and a second. The chair recognizes member Haddad Bennett.
Thank you. Patricia Haddad Bennett. I motion to continue funding at the full amount for YMCA's, for YMCA.
All right, do I have a second?
I second.
And the chair recognizes member Jackson. Okay, so we have had a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I will entertain all those in favor of continuing the funding for the YMCA of Southern Nevada, Durango Hills YMCA Early Childhood Program. Please signify by stating aye. 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 Any opposed? Seeing none, is motion carried. Thank you very much for the work you're doing with our children. Okay. All right, looking at our schedule, we are in front of the cart. I like that. At this time, if it's okay, if we'll entertain a break for everyone, just to stretch your legs and bathroom. And I'm looking at, it is 9:45 after I gavel us out. 10 minutes, is that good for everybody? And then we'll come back in and gavel back in. So we'll gavel out for 10 minutes for a 10-minute break. Thank you. Okay, board members, it's 9:55, so thank you very much for coming back. I'm going to gavel us back in. Okay. All right, we're about 9:55, and we're gaveling back in to continue with our Community Development Recommending Board agenda. We are still on Agenda Item 9 for presentations for discussion of the recommended allocation funding. This is Chair Miller. So at this time, if they are present, is representative from Sunrise Children's Foundation Home Instruction for Parents of Preschool Youngsters Hippie present? Okay, if you want to come on down, if you're ready for your presentation, we're a little ahead of schedule, but are you waiting for someone?
We are, but I can probably fill in.
They said, yes, but we can fill in. So thank you very much. Just want to remind you, please make sure that you state your name for the record. You will have 5 minutes to make your presentation to the board, and then there will be 5 minutes for the board to answer, to ask any questions that you can answer. Thank you, good morning, and welcome.
Good morning. Hi, I'm Dave Sandberg. I'm the Executive Director for Sunrise Children's Foundation. We're missing Jamie Stevens this morning. She's our Program Manager. Tiffany Alston, who is our Program Director, is actually conducting the Nevada Head Start Association meeting this morning. And with me today, I have Arun Jabarilla, who's our Finance Director.
Good morning.
So this is a little awkward because I didn't know what was wanted for presentation, but based on the risk assessment, we can see that the concern is that we're grossly under budget. We started out this grant with some anomalies. We only had one parent educator, hired another one who immediately quit, so we've had some turnover issues. That position is a hard position to hire for because it is the lowest paid of all of our positions because it's a start-up type of position. We don't require previous experience, and it's on-the-job training as they come in. However, there are 2 positions that they can elevate into, which often happens. If Jamie were here to explain, one of the parent educators that is our long-term parent educator has been on leave for 3 months. She had the death of her child, so it dramatically affected both the department and the positions. So we are back on track. We are fully staffed now. We do believe that we can move forward and be able to spend down the rest of the money. We do have questions about it, so I don't know if this is the appropriate place, but I will have questions of either the board or Tim later as we move on. To the other points, I'm going to turn it over to Arun because there were some issues about tardiness and the reporting.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. Please state your name for the record, please.
Yeah, my name is Arun Jiberila. I'm the Finance Director at Sunrise Children's Foundation. Yes, at the beginning, there was a little bit difficulty to get used to the new software neighboring, but right now we are on track. We can get all our paperwork uploaded. And as my boss was saying, there was a difficulty as well to get teacher on board because of the turnover, and also to enroll parents because of level of poverty. Sometimes it's difficult to find the right level of poverty to get in. But right now we are fully on track to spend all the money. And there are a few questions that we don't know if it's the appropriate time to ask, especially if we can redirect some of the fund. We know that most of the time we can redirect 10% of the budget, but we don't know if it's the right time to ask that question. Thank you.
All right, thank you for your presentation. I guess this is Chair Miller. Are those questions that would go to city staff, or if they need to make an appointment? So I'm asking city staff to kind of address that question.
Yes, Tim Glisson, CDBG Grant Program Coordinator. So those questions would have to be one-on-one with staff.
One-on-one with staff? Okay, thank you very much. Okay. With that, I will open the floor up to the board to have any questions that they may have for Sunrise Children's Foundation Home Instruction for Parents of Preschool Youngsters, also known as HIPPY. The microphone I see is lit. Recognize Member Thomas.
Thank you, Kathy Thomas. Good morning. Some of the comments from staff, and maybe staff will be able to answer these as well, are related to their inability to determine if you have some processes in place. Have you addressed those? They've done some desk audits, and it appears that they can't sort of look at your records and determine whether or not you have the ability to meet your program objectives. They cannot determine if you have the ability to manage your fiscal responsibilities, and that would typically be policies and procedures, some program descriptions, some checks and balances, so to speak. Is that missing? And this is a two-parter, so I'd like to hear your response, but also maybe staff can help the board understand what things they need to get in place to be able to determine their capacity.
Sure. I'd like to address a couple issues that I'm aware of. One of the issues that when we went into this in the program where people were aware of it and I was not. So when I responded to Tim, I was not fully knowledgeable of what was happening. But our Head Start program last year changed the eligibility qualifications so that we were allowing housing as part of the expenses to qualify families. This program doesn't do that. So those people that we had in our waiting list and pipeline were qualified under Head Start standards and were not eligible for this program. So we really had to go back out and recruit for those people. In addition to that, Jamie Stevens, the program manager, Tiffany was very well aware what the city was expecting as far as enrollees, but we missed the ball on the people that we submitted were outside of the city limits. And Jamie was using the wrong map to determine the eligibility of those people. I understand now that we have 10 people in, we're supposed to have 25. So that is diligently being worked on, and that is a going concern and a staff issue, reasonably so.
So Tim Glisson, Grant Program Coordinator again. So yes, we do desk audits every year on the first year. And when we receive the case files, we received 6 case files, 5 of the 6 were not within city limits. And these funds have to be for clients that are within city limits.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Member Thomas. Member Prado, did you have a question, sir? It was addressed, okay. I like that efficiency, very much so. Okay, is there any other board members that have questions for Sunrise Children's Foundation about their programming? HIPPY? I see Member Jones Sagaro. Go ahead, ma'am.
Hi, this is Barbara Jones-Zangaro, and you had said that you were recruiting. How do you do you have someone that is a paid person that goes out and recruits? And then you said something about income standards. Is there a threshold of the income that you can or cannot accept?
I would love to answer that question, but my 2 ladies just showed up that actually are better at that than me. If you don't mind, can I have them come up and address this? Because this is their wheelhouse.
Okay, please make sure you state your name for the record. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Jamie Stevens, HIPPY Program Manager. Okay. So yes, we do have our parent educators that go out into the field and recruit. At Sunrise, everyone is responsible for recruiting. So we do have that. They are familiarized with the income, and we explain the enrollment process to each family. We collect their information during enrollment, and then we give them a call, during recruitment, and then we give them a call when we return back to the office, and then explain the eligibility requirement and the income that we would need to collect to determine their eligibility.
All right, thank you. And your second guest, can you please state your name for the record, please, ma'am?
My name is Trina Richardson. I am the home visiting manager for Sunrise.
All righty, thank you very much. Board members, we have about approximately 15 seconds. Does anyone else have a question for Sunrise Children's Foundation Home Instruction for Parents of Preschool Youngsters, also known as HIPPY? Seeing none, let's take a vote. Can I have a motion on the floor in a second? The chair recognizes Member Haddad Bennett.
Thank you, Patricia Haddad-Bennett. I would motion to continue funding at the full amount for Sunrise Children's Foundation.
Is there a second? Member Prado?
Second.
So we have a motion on the floor to continue funding for Sunrise Children's Foundation Home Instruction for Parents of Preschool Youngsters, HIPPY. It was moved by Member Haddad Bennett and seconded by Member Prado. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of continuing funding for Sunrise Children's Foundation, please signify by stating aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? I believe that is unanimous. Continue to do your programming. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate your
Thank
time.
you. We will not let you down. Thank you, Lord.
Mhm.
Thank you, team.
Alrighty, okay. Looking at our schedule, next on our agenda is Olive Crest. Is there any members of Olive Crest? Come on down. This is Olive Crest Foster Care Services. Just want to remind you, you will have 5 minutes to make your presentation, and there'll be 5 minutes for the board to ask any questions. Please make sure you state your name clearly for the record.
We
Welcome.
do have presentations for you all. Where should we?
Okay, thank you. Someone from the city will assist you. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you for having us. My name's Alyssa Dennison Glasgow. I'm the Regional Programs Director at Olive Crest. Just wanted to share a quick story with you, a story of Jason. He's a 6-year-old little boy who came to us from Child Haven. He had been removed from his family and had been separated from his sister. Once placed in the foster home, he had a lot of behaviors. He was acting out, he was fighting, he was stealing. They weren't sure they were going to be able to keep him in the classroom that he had because the behaviors were so good, or so bad. With foster parents training, with our staff going in home, and with the child receiving therapeutic services, things changed. They learned coping techniques. They learned how to manage his behaviors, and they were able to teach the school the behaviors management as well. I'm happy to say that he is doing great. He has been reunified with his sister. The foster parents have also taken in the sister as well, so the siblings can be together. They are on the path to be adopted by this foster family. So this foster family has not only provided the services to help him maintain some of his good behaviors, they're also adopting him and his sister, so they will have their forever home. Okay.
And for kids like Jason and his sister, that's why our mission at Olive Crest is to end child abuse and neglect by addressing its root causes. I'm Jenny Fay. I'm the Community Engagement and Development Director at Olive Crest. And our vision at Olive Crest is a strong family for every child. And we're doing this through 3 main pathways, as you may remember from when we presented originally. Family preservation, programs and services to go into the home on the preventative side, working with families to help them stabilize, programs providing for those tangible needs even. We're doing that through, like you just heard and know from our funding, licensed foster care, where families can get certified through us, still through Clark County Family Services, to welcome these kids into their homes and really make that difference, help them get on a healing path from the trauma that they've experienced. And the third way we're doing this is through equipping for life those teens and young adults who've aged out of foster care through our independent living program. And through those robust services with our foster program, We provide those healing supports that are needed, like Alyssa was saying, for those young ones to be able to process what has happened to them, build the skills that they need for moving forward, and to equip the family that they're with, the schools, the others in their ecosystem to be able to help those young ones in care succeed. And I'm going to pass it back over to Alyssa to talk a little bit about what our objectives have been and what we've done.
So if you'll remember, and in your packet, some of our objectives were serve 25 foster youth throughout this program year. Not just serve them, but also provide therapeutic case management and supports to the 25 youth. Updates, we are currently at 21 foster youth this fiscal year to date. We had some clarifying conversations with Tim about the clients that we could serve, and it turns out that we were underreporting the clients that we were serving based on their address at the foster home instead of their address prior to entering the program. So our most recent monthly report will show that update. And then also those 21 foster youth, we have been able to provide the therapeutic services. So therapy services with our therapist, also therapeutic services in the home as a licensed specialized foster agency.
And I want to take a minute and speak to some of those risk assessment pieces. One of the things that you may have noticed on our risk assessment is there were some late reports turned in. We had been following the protocol that we had done for other grants, which were like more county or state funding, and when a 15th had fallen on a Sunday, our protocol was to turn in the report on a Monday. We now realize with the city that's considered late, and we need to be turning that in on Friday the 13th instead. So we will do that moving forward. We apologize. It was just a protocol that we discovered was different. Also, you'll notice on our risk assessment that we had some corrections that we had to do along the way. We just had a little bit of a learning curve because we were providing documentation as we knew how to based on other funding that we had received. And now that our finance department understands better the exact documentation, we're ready. We feel like we're on the other side of that learning curve, and we thank you for the grace as we did go back and forth clarifying those things. Thank you. Thank you for this funding and the difference that it's already made in lives, and we welcome any questions that you all have.
All righty, thank you. At this time, I'll open the floor up to any board member that has any questions that they may have for Olive Crest Foster Care Services. I don't see any questions, so I will entertain a motion.
This is Jamie Jackson. It says 51% of funds have been expended, so you're on, you're timely, you feel that you'll be able to expend the funds in a timely.
Yeah, we feel very good about spending down the award, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Member Jackson. Member Prado?
I don't have any questions. Thank you for all you do. And then I think I'm prepared to make a motion even though there's a bunch of time
Please do.
left. So I motion to approve full funding for the upcoming year per the grant cycle for Olive Crest.
Okay, Member Haddad Bennett?
Member Haddad Bennett, I'll second.
Okay, so we have had a motion by Member Prado and a seconded by Member Bennett, Haddad Bennett, seconded to continue funding for Olive Crest Foster Care Services. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call all those in favor. Please signify by stating aye.
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 Any opposed? Seeing none, that's unanimous. Thank you very much for your services.
Thank you.
Okay, looking at our schedule, again, had a schedule. Is there a representative from the Jewish Family Services Agency here yet?
I am here, however, I'm just waiting for my accountant. Is it possible to wait for her? Yes.
Okay, so if the board is not opposed, would you like to take another break and then take all 5 of those presentations to close out? I'm seeing nods of heads, so that means, all right, good job, Chair. Okay, at this time, I will gavel us out, and then we will start again, take a 10-minute break for our Jewish Family Services agency representatives to get here, and then we will take that and then move through our other 4 presentations. And so 10 minutes, I'm looking at time, so that's going to take us to 10:26. Thank you. This is Chair Miller for the Community Development Recommending Board. Thank you, everyone, for getting back. A well-oiled machine we are. Thank you very much. We're going to go ahead and continue back on the record. We're still on agenda item 9 for presentations discussion regarding the recommended allocation of funding for the fiscal 25-26 Community Development Block Grant. And now we are going to call forward members of the Jewish Family Services Agency Senior Case Management. Thank you so much for coming. Again, you will have 5 minutes to make your presentation, and then 5 minutes for the board to ask questions. Thank you very much and welcome. Yes, you're live. Go ahead.
Thank
Just
you.
state
Hi.
your name for the record. Yes.
My name is Lisa Popovsky. I'm the Director of Senior Services for Jewish Family Service Agency.
I'm Linda Cardno, the Chief Financial Officer for JFSA.
And thank you for waiting for us to do our presentation. I know that JFSA has been a long-term grantee of the City of Las Vegas, and the funds that you provide us let us do amazing work with our seniors. The program has been functioning at capacity, and we have served all of the seniors that we were contracted to serve. And I understand there was some issues with our spending, which Linda can certainly explain to you.
One of the challenges we continue to experience with this grant is the need for canceled checks. We are very assertive with our vendors in getting those, and we have just had challenges getting in contact with those vendors. It's delayed our process in getting our draws over to the city. However, I think once our draws are there, they're generally, with the exception of some issues, so I'll apologize to Tim in advance for working with me on just some documentation that had been amiss. In the past several years, we again thank the city for your funding, but we have been at full spend since basically I think Lisa and I started working together, so that's several years in a row.
Okay.
Yeah, that's really
hey, we like it like that. Okay, this is Chair Miller. I'm going to open up the floor for any questions. I'll start with Member Prado, then Member Haddad Bennett, and any other board member that has questions for the Jewish Family Services Agency Senior Case Management. Member Prado, sir.
Hi, there's a note on the risk assessment regarding insurance. Can you maybe talk to us a little bit about insurance?
The insurance was a cyber policy. We had significant difficulties getting a proper quote. Our quotes were coming in at $10,000 to $15,000 for a single cyber insurance policy, and that is outside of our budget. It did take up to 6 months to find the correct configurations. Again, I like to compliment Tim for working with us and really helping to get the scope correct. We were able to get that bound in January, but it took us a full 6 months to get something that was cost effective because the quotes were coming in so high.
It was still expensive.
Yeah, it's $3,500.
Yeah.
Member Prado, through the chair, maybe to the staff, is that a new requirement?
Tim Glisson, Grant Program Coordinator. So I believe it was a new requirement under the last 2-year cycle. For some reason, it either got missed or it never got updated with Jewish Family Services Agency. They are not the only agency that we've had this issue with, I will say that. But as Linda has indicated, it is now squared away and they are good on the insurance.
Okay. Member Haddad Bennett.
Thank you. Just to follow up on that, are you able to cover that cost through the grant?
We will be putting some of those dollars through this grant.
Okay.
Because this grant only allows us to do one and only one budget modification. We have to be very strategic when we make that ask. So that ask will likely be in April. That ask also helps us make sure that we're at full spend and why we can report that we have been at full spend since this grant came under JFSA.
Got it. Okay, thank you for that. And then you were mentioning something about canceled checks, and maybe that's a process, piece that we don't see on this side. Could you just explain a little bit more?
You bet. This grant requires us to submit a copy of the canceled check that the vendor actually cashes. Then we have to print that check up from our bank to supply with the grant draw. If that vendor is tardy in cashing those checks and we are not tardy in our draws, we have to wait. Or the other thing is we have to exclude that cost from our draw. So we have a delicate balance there of trying to hit the 15th of every month, working with our vendors to get those cashed, and we've gotten to the point that we're starting to terminate vendors who cannot cash our checks timely.
Okay, thank you. Are there any more questions from the board for Jewish Family Services Senior Case Management? Chair recognizes Member Thomas.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Kathy Thomas, more of a comment, both for the agencies and the staff. When we have agencies who have been long-term recipients of resources, it concerns me when reports are late, when all those kinds of things. And I understand things shift, particularly when you're having challenges with vendors, as many of us in Human Services have been having lots of challenges with our vendors. But I'm concerned, and so it's both a question for our partners about where do you plan to put in some flexibility to address those things. It's a challenge because it's external, but also for staff when we have agencies who kind of show up on the medium risk or high risk list, sometimes for different things, sometimes for the same issues, sort of what that technical support looks like. I know you guys do a lot of it, but I also know we have a handful of folks who sort of end up in this medium and high risk category throughout the years for different reasons, and that concerns me, that we want to support the nonprofits so they can be nimble enough to be responsive to what's happening, but it's concerning. Even if I don't get a check, I'm not going to hold up my whole draw because one vendor didn't submit backup. I'm going to submit everything I have so I can stay timely, right? And so some of this is kind of a repeat issue. I'm just concerned what the conversation is like to support our community partners to deal with those kind of things.
So Tim Glisson, Grant Program Coordinator. So the risk assessments, the two major components of the risk assessments coincide with the grant agreements, which is their 50% spent down by the end of December, and then their 50% client goal met. So those two specific is what really triggers them to come before the board. There are obviously on the risk assessments other items we assess as we go through that time frame, usually about 6 months. And then it is a little bit of some discretion on our part in terms of the documentation that comes in, and as you'll see on some of the other documentation that we have provided, whether or not we consider them minor corrections or major corrections for organizations. If you're only missing, say, one document, we don't always count that on our end as a miss or a late item. So there is some discretion within there, but we would have to have further conversations internally if we wanted to potentially change the risk assessment and how that's viewed.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, City. With that, I will entertain a motion on the floor for Jewish Family Service Agency's Senior Case Management. The chair recognizes Member Moreland.
Motion to continue in full.
Okay, we have a motion to continue funding full. Chair recognizes Member Jones-Sagaro.
I second the motion.
Okay, we have a motion to continue funding for the Jewish Family Services Agency Senior Case Management by Member Marlin and seconded by Member Jones-Sagaro. Okay. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, I will entertain a vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, motion carries. Thank you very much for your continued work. And thank you, City, also for answering our questions. Appreciate that very, very much. All right. Next on our agenda, we have 4 more agencies to make a presentation. Family Promise of Las Vegas. If you will come down for your Family Promise LV Navigation Center, please make sure you state your name clearly for the record. You will have 5 minutes for your presentation and then 5 minutes for any questions from the board. Good morning and welcome. There you go.
Oh, sorry, was I leaning too in? For the record, Marissa Cervantes, Chief Operations Director for Family Promise of Las Vegas, and then we have
Bridget Young, I'm the Community Engagement Director.
Thank you for the opportunity to present today. We are here to address concerns regarding the performance of our CDBG program grant, specifically why we are currently behind in reaching our goals and have been categorized as high risk. We take these concerns seriously and we are fully committed to meeting the goals of this grant. Our goal is to provide case management and supportive services to City of Las Vegas residents who are at risk of homelessness or are currently experiencing homelessness. This includes emergency shelter, eviction prevention assistance, and basic needs at our Family Promise Navigation Center. The goal was to assist 75 residents, and as you're aware, as of December, we've reached 12% of that goal. Additionally, we've only spent 16% of the award, and we recognize the challenges that we face, but we also want to outline the steps that we are actively taking to correct this issue. On the program side, we've encountered several challenges that have impacted our ability to reach families at the pace we anticipated. Family Promise has historically been a smaller team, and over the last year, we've undergone significant changes, including our beloved Terry Linderman retiring a year ago. And so with these changes, we've undergone some major transition in the organization. However, this put us in a much stronger position to serve our community. We've hired new staff and we've expanded, who are now working hard to expand our outreach efforts, including Bridget. Just today, we have staff who are visiting and touring the courtyard to work on conducting and setting up outreach schedules for regular visits to reach more City of Las Vegas residents. And additionally, we are collaborating with other partners such as the Las Vegas Rescue Mission and the Care Complex to increase our outreach capacity. We face many barriers that have slowed our progress. Many families who reach out to us don't either follow through with the process or they do not return calls to our family advocates. They fail to submit necessary documentation that is required for CDBG, like proof of address, proof of income. And so therefore, many of the families are not meeting the eligibility for CDBG. So while we are continuing to engage these families, this lack of follow-up has been a significant hurdle. We are addressing the challenges by working more closely with the families, providing additional support in gathering the required documentation, and ensuring that they understand the eligibility requirements for CDBG. We believe that these focused efforts will begin to see a greater response and more families successfully enrolled in the program. On the fiscal side, we encountered delays in spending due to our timing of our building project. In the grant application submitted in January of last year, we projected that the first phase of our Family Navigation Center would be completed by fall of 2024. However, we broke ground in March of 2024, and the process has taken longer than expected. The exciting news is that we've been awarded an additional $5 million in funding in December, which allows us to proceed with both phases of the building, because originally it was going to be built in 2 different phases. While this is fantastic for the long-term success of the program, it has resulted in some delays in our spending. We're not yet in the building, but we expect to be there at the end of this month, and we'll have the certificate of occupancy by March 31st. And so some of the expenses for the operating costs that cover this, that are funded by CDBG, have not been billed because we are not in the building. Some of these expenses include our liability insurance and utilities. We did submit one budget modification request to better suit the expenses of the organization. However, because we are still not in the building and not spending some of those costs, we're underspent in those categories. Another line item that we have not spent any dollars in for this grant is the audit. We were projected to spend $16,000 on our audit this year, but then received a bill half of that amount. And so we're clarifying with the audit if that is in fact the total amount for the audit to be due. And so if we, and the audit's soon to be completed, so we'll know soon from our auditors. So if that's the case and we don't have to spend any of our CDBG dollars on our audit, then we will request a budget modification to move to allocate those dollars elsewhere where it's more needed for the program. So while we face some setbacks over the last 12 months, Family Promise of Las Vegas has undergone significant changes to strengthen our operations. We're confident that we will overcome these challenges and that the program will be back on track soon. Historically, we've been good stewards of our funds, and we are committed to successfully meeting our program goals. Oh, out of time.
Go ahead and finish your
Okay.
thought.
So with construction of the Navigation Center nearly complete, strengthened staff, and improved outreach efforts, we are optimistic about meeting our goals in the upcoming months. Thank you for the opportunity, and we're open to answering any questions.
All righty, thank you
Yes.
very much. Okay, I will open the floor for any questions. The chair recognizes Member Jackson.
Hi, I appreciate your work. My name is Jamie Jackson, and I'm just a little confused. You said you got an award. Congratulations on the award for the new building. But you're currently in a building, right? So how is it that you can't allocate, the funds weren't allocated from where you're currently at?
So, thank you. So we were originally planning on implementing this program at the Family Navigation Center that's being built. And at the time of the application, we were expecting to be in the building by October of 2024, as it was written in the grant application. Yes, we are renting property right now. However, for example, at the place that we're renting, there are no utilities. So that was one of the line item expenses in our budget, was to cover utilities at the Family Navigation Center. So we don't have utilities to pay for, we only pay for rent.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Chair recognizes Member Lathrop. We have a question, sir.
Yeah, I've historically been involved in supporting this organization. My other people have now developed the coordinator position that I used to have. I'm curious about the in terms of the funding situation and the staffing levels. Where do you see that going in the future? With the opening of the new center, hopefully at the end of this month, how is that going to change the staffing level and the types of support that your staff is going to be handling?
So staffing level is likely to stay the same. So we've grown over the last year to build capacity to be ready for our building. We went from, I believe, 7 staff people in 2024, and we're at 12 now, and have one more position that we're likely to hire soon. And so we have the staff capacity to be in the building, and also, so before Family Promise historically maybe had 3 to 4 staff members, and so all of which wore many hats, and it was very hard for them to go out to the community and be as engaged and involved with other partners and doing that outreach. And so now that we have the staffing level that we do, we can do that as well as operate the building. And as we transition to the building and identify if there are any additional needs to have staff on site, then we will look at our budget as well as funding sources to bring on more staff members.
Okay, the chair will recognize Joan Sagaro and Member Joan Sagaro, and then Member Prado.
You had said you're transitioning to your new building. Is that currently happening, and when is the deadline to get out of your existing into your new building?
So our current lease at the location we are renting right now is through May of 2025. However, we are on target for the construction of our Family Navigation Center to be completed by March 31st. We should receive the certificate of occupancy by the 31st, but there will be some time to transition and move over, such as we have furniture that's being delivered, appliances, and we have to set up the building. So starting in May is when we'll start the move-in process. And then we're looking for a grand opening around the end of May, and then have families start moving in June. So we will, as an organization, be in there by April.
So, but you won't have utility expenses until then?
We will. We're actually working on getting those turned on right now. And so there will be some, lower bills because we won't be in the facility, but those, we're working on getting all of our utilities connected now.
Member Prado?
Hi. I think I'm going to kind of summarize something. If it's inaccurate, you can let me know. But I think relative to the spend down, what I'm hearing is you're potentially going to restructure your budget, find different cost categories, and you're confident. And so I think my question is more around the client number, because I think some of the things you raised are more like just structural difficulties with working with indigent people. And so has your recruitment picked up in any way? Like in what sense are you forecasting being able to meet the client goal?
Yes. So we have more staff who are boots on the ground now and also going out in the community. We have Bridget, who is also going out to the community and working with other partners, because we are trying to build these relationships and work towards getting, recruiting more City of Las Vegas clients, because we're serving several families, hundreds of families every single month. However, they don't fall within the City of Las Vegas jurisdiction. So what we're doing is we're going out into the community to make sure that we can better reach the residents of the City of Las Vegas.
Okay, thank you very much. That ends our 5 minutes of questioning from board members. At this time, I will open it up for a motion for discussion of either continuing funding, a reduction, or denial for our presentation for Family Promise of Las Vegas, Family Promise LV Navigation Center. The chair recognizes Member Haddad Bennett.
Thank you, Patricia Haddad Bennett. I will move to continue funding at the full amount for Family Promise, and hopefully with getting into your new building and getting all that going, that we'll see that ramp up. So good luck to you guys. Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion. Do I have a second? The chair
second.
recognizes Member Nordstrom.
I second the motion.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. The motion made by Member Haddad Bennett and the second made by Member Nordstrom. Is there any discussion? Okay, Member Prado?
Yeah, let's pick tradition. I think, so I was maybe mid-thought and ran out of time, and so to put a closing thought on that, having served multiple cycles and likely to see you all return in the future, the biggest thing, given I feel like I have a high rate of confidence you will sort out the budgetary things, I think the more alarming thing would be if the client numbers don't pick up somehow. Does that make sense? And so I'm comfortable moving forward like this with the understanding that the client numbers are really something we're going to be very concerned with in the future.
And I don't know if I can add to that. Okay. And one more thing that we've been discussing with our programs team is to be more detailed with the documentation information that we're collecting from our clients, because we know we are serving more City of Las Vegas residents than we are documenting, and so we are working on strengthening that to make sure that we're capturing everybody.
Okay. All righty. Seeing that we have no further discussion, we've had a second and a motion. At this time, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor of continuing the funding for Family Promise of Las Vegas, Family Promise LV Navigation Center, please signify by stating aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Thank you very much. Okay. Our next presentation is the last presentation for agenda item number 9 in reference to Community Development Block Grant CDBG. And we have members of the Salvation Army, the Career Center, come forward. Thank you very much. Please remember, you will have 5 minutes for your presentation. Please, each person that is speaking from your agency, state your name clearly for the record, and then there will be 5 minutes for the board to ask questions. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning, members of the Community Development Recommending Board and distinguished guests. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today. Joining me today are Major Harold Laubach, who is the Divisional Secretary of Clark County, which means he's the coordinator for Clark County Salvation Army operations. Angel Dennis, who is our Director of Social Services, and Sharira Thomas, who is our Vocational and Residential Services Coordinator. The Salvation Army, as you know, is one of the oldest and longest-serving providers of social services in Southern Nevada, having served the Las Vegas community since 1948. We are deeply committed to addressing both chronic and emergent needs in the Las Vegas area. As long as there are unmet needs among our neighbors, we will continue to serve. Our vocational training program is designed to support homeless individuals, those at risk of homelessness, and low-income adults. Participants are typically at or below 30% of the median income, or in some cases have little or no income at all, 50% of the median income or below. Many of our participants come from incarceration, homeless shelter, or recovery programs. This program offers a structured educational and training initiative with a housing component for the homeless. It is designed to equip individuals with the necessary skills and knowledge to excel in specific trades, professions, or industries. Our services include employment skills development, job readiness training, life skills and financial management courses, on-the-job and occupational training, job search assistance, and job placement support. We serve, under this grant, 20 homeless, at-risk, or low-income adults. The program includes intensive case management and supportive services such as referrals for mental health treatment, addiction counseling, and other critical resources. We ensure participants' basic needs are met, including access to housing and 3 meals a day, so they can focus on their vocational training and job search. Each participant receives an individualized service plan outlining their specific needs and the activities they will engage in, including the services required to secure employment. I have a listing here of what we have done in the last 3 years. But in 2022, we served 244 individuals, with 93 gaining employment and 48 obtaining housing. In 2023, we served 151 individuals, with 72 gaining employment and 70 secured housing. As you can see, our program has consistently delivered strong results in terms of employment and housing outcomes. Now, initially, we requested $200,000 from this board, which would support utilization of our vocational program for 100 low-income individuals. The CDBG grant was for $50,000, which would support 20 individuals to be assessed and trained in job readiness, and we would house during this period of training for an average of 40 days, 15 individuals. So far, we have housed 16 people for 40 days or more at our facility, and we plan to enroll 4 more individuals in outside training. Now, of these people, 10 people have secured jobs and have found housing independently. 5 individuals are housed in our lead bridge housing, paying 30% of their earnings toward rent as they stabilize. This is efficiency housing that is offered as a bridge for people to stay in for up to 1 year while they save money and look for better jobs if needed to move to a different facility. As of December 31st, we had enrolled 16 people and are continuing to assist additional individuals who are ready for training. As of December 31st, we had spent 41% of the grant funds, and as of today, we have spent 63% of the grant funds. We are continuing to assess individuals and are assured that we will spend the remainder of the funds that we have in place. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you very much, Salvation Army Career Corner. I will open up the floor for any questions of any board member, and Chair recognizes Member Marlin.
Through you, Chair, sorry, Senior FC Clerk Brian Cuff, for the record. Could the speaker just provide their name? Introduce everybody else, we didn't provide your name.
Yeah, can you please
I
state?
beg your pardon?
You just provide your name for the record?
Oh, I'm sorry. My name is Elsie Levon Lewis, and I am the Director of Business for the Salvation Army.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Member Marlin, whenever you're ready, sir, you can ask your question.
Hi, my name is Dave Marlin. I appreciate each of you in the Salvation Army. Could you tell me what the plan is to get the insurance in compliance?
We are working with our insurance provider to get them to upload to COI, my COI, our certificate. We have the certificate, and as soon as we can get it uploaded into my COI, we will be in compliance. You know, the insurance runs for the Salvation Army because of our fiscal year from October 1st to September 30th. And it was, of course, in compliance as of the last period. But, you know, and we just need to upload that same insurance certificate. But it is difficult, somewhat difficult, in getting the insurance agency to do that. So I'm having them send me the certificate so I can upload it into my COI.
Thank you.
All right, are there any more questions from the board for Salvation Army's Career Corner? Go ahead, Member Marlin.
Recommend cover in full the Salvation Army amount.
All right, we have a motion on the floor to continue the funding for the second year by Member Marlin. May I have a second?
Second?
The second is by Member Conyers. Okay, is there any further discussion? Okay, seeing none, we have had a motion and a second to continue funding for Salvation Army Career Corner for the second year for 2025-2026. All those in favor, please signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It is unanimous. Thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you very much.
Okay, I have a question to City or our attorney. Before we go to our next agenda item, do I need to restate all of 9 together for the record, or can we just move to the next agenda item?
Deputy City Attorney Chris Levy-Gallicay for the record. You can move on to the next one without stating it.
Thank you. I wanted to make sure that we're in appropriate compliance. All righty, so now we're moving on to agenda item number 10 of our agenda, presentation and discussion for possible action regarding the recommended allocation of funding for fiscal year 2025-2026, housing opportunities for persons with AIDS, HOPWA, for the Just One Project, Just One's HOPWA Assistance Program, and Golden Rainbow of Nevada Incorporated, HIV, Human Immune Deficiency Virus, Permanent Housing Placement, and Supportive Services. Do we have a representative from the Just One Foundation here? Thank you. Please come forward. Again, you will have 5 minutes to make your presentation. Please make sure that you state your name and title clearly for the record, and then there will be 5 minutes for the board. Thank you for coming in this morning, and welcome.
Thank you. My name is Tristan Hightower. I'm the Senior Executive Director of Revenue at the Just One Project, and I'm joined by Kirsten Carl, who is our Director of Social Services. And we're here to discuss our HOPWA program. In 2021, the Just One Project actually approached the City of Las Vegas to ask how we could be a help to the city, and we were recommended to apply for HOPWA funding. We were funded for our first year in fiscal year 22-23, and although there are always some challenges in launching a new program, that year we actually served 17 households with permanent housing placement assistance, which is getting folks into permanent housing, 40 households with short-term rental, mortgage, and utility assistance, and 15 with tenant-based rental assistance, or TBRA, which is long-term assistance for folks that would otherwise not be able to afford their own rent long-term. This met or exceeded the majority of our programmatic goals in the first year, and last year, 23-24, we actually exceeded all of our programmatic goals by providing 19 households with PHP assistance, 111 households with STRUMU assistance, and 23 households with TBRA assistance. So we love our HOPWA program. We are very honored to be a HOPWA provider. Our founder and CEO, Brooke, always talks about how we love being a welcoming environment where we can serve everyone with the services they need, and we love bringing our gold standard to HOPWA. The success of our HOPWA program and our dedication to the HOPWA population is evident in these service numbers, but also in our willingness to jump in and help when needed. So this fall, we learned that another agency in our community that provided tenant-based rental assistance, TBRA, would no longer be able to support the clients. TBRA provides long-term rental assistance for individuals that are disabled and unable to provide their own rent or increase their income. So this subsidy is really necessary for them to stay in supportive housing long-term, to remain stable, both medically and just with their housing. Because we knew this deficit was coming in the community, we actually wrote the City of Las Vegas and asked, could we take on that caseload if we were to receive a budgetary increase for the obvious rent and costs that would be associated with that, and we were approved. So on November 19th of 2024, we actually received an increase that took our budget from $325,000 to $955,000. So it's over $600,000 to accommodate this additional caseload. So one of our primary budgetary concerns was that we had not reached 50% of our total spend down by December 31st, but we actually received an increase that over doubled our budget in November, which contributed to the low spend down that was noted on December 31st. Prior to this increase, we had spent 58% of our original allotted budget just in the first quarter. So we believe that this spend down is directly related to just when the money hit our budgetary increase. And we're currently bringing on all of the clients that we're taking on the new caseload, and we've hired new staff. So we are on track and anticipate spending down the increased budget by the end of the fiscal year. So far this year, we provided 17 households with PHP assistance, 66 with StrumU, and 20 households with TBRA, and we're continuing to serve more clients throughout the year. So thank you, and I will take any questions.
Alrighty, thank you very much. I will open the floor to board members that have any questions for the Just One Project, TJOP, on their HOPWA program. The chair recognizes Member Thomas.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Again, Kathy Thomas for the record. So in addition to the low spend down, there are some programmatic findings as well as some financial issues around the audit. Where are you in addressing those findings and addressing the significant deficiencies that were identified in the audit?
Yeah. So in terms of the programmatic findings, 4 clients were identified as exceeding the 21 weeks, but only 2 of them had a dollar amount associated with that. In total, it was about $346. Because of when we were audited programmatically by the city, we were actually able to compensate for that money in the last fiscal year. So we just reduced our RFR for June of last year by that $346 and effectively zeroed out that balance. As part of our monitoring in August, we also worked with Erica at the city to do a StrumU training to implement new trackers for tracking the 21 weeks of assistance, and we updated our programmatic policy so that it was extremely clear how exactly we're calculating the 21 weeks to be in compliance with the city. So we don't anticipate that being a recurring issue. In terms of our audit, the audit has been completed and is submitted. We completed it in September of last year, but this year, coming up on our next audit, we already have it scheduled and we're beginning the auditing process next month.
And a follow-up question, Madam Chair. You indicated that your budget was significantly increased. So what this chart says that you spent roughly a third, you're saying that's incorrect, that you, of the original allocation, you're well over 50%. Did I understand that correctly?
Yes, correct.
Okay.
Okay, I don't see any further questions, so I will entertain a motion to either continue funding or reduce funding or deny funding for the Just One project, their HOPWA program. Chair recognizes Member Marlin.
Dave Marlin, I recommend continuing the funding.
Okay, I have a recommendation to continue funding. Do I have a second?
Member Prado, I'll second.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor to continue full funding to the Just One project, HOPWA program. Motion was made by Member Marlin and seconded by Member Prado. Is there any discussion?
Just to clarify.
Okay, the chair recognizes Member Haddad Bennett.
Is the continuing of funding for the original ask or for an additional $955,000?
Is that a question for city or a question for?
I can answer. Gina Candelario with the City of Las Vegas. It's going to be for the original CDRB amount.
Okay, all right. Is there any more further discussion? Okay, at this time, we have a motion to continue funding to the Just One project, their HOPWA program, and then we have a second. All those in favor, please signify by stating aye.
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 All those opposed? Seeing none, it's unanimous. Thank you very much. We appreciate your time. All righty, so now we are rounding out our schedule. Next up is Golden Rainbow. If they have members present, I know we're a little ahead of schedule. Let's see here. We're ahead of schedule by 16 minutes. So I suggest if you want to stretch your legs, a little 5-minute break, and let's give them that opportunity, and I'll gavel us out. It is now 11:09. If you could be back by 11:15, will be great. Thank you. Okay, this is Chair Miller. I'm going to gavel us back in at 11:16. We're a little ahead of schedule as we continue on our agenda item number 10 for our final presentation today of our meeting, March 11th, for the Community Development Recommending Board. At this time, if there's any representative from Golden Rainbow, if you'll come on down. Golden Rainbow, this is their Housing and Supportive Services Program through HOPWA. Thank you. You will have 5 minutes to address the board, and then the board will open the floor up to ask you questions for 5 minutes. Please make sure that you state your name when you're speaking for the record. Thank you so much. We know we're about 9 minutes early from your scheduled time. We appreciate it. Good morning and welcome.
Thank you so much. For the record, I am Darnell Dewaney. I am the Programs Manager for Golden Rainbow.
I am Iria Ephraim. I am the Executive Assistant at Golden Rainbow.
So a little bit our agency has been around since 1987 with the intention of housing those living with HIV and AIDS in the form of financial assistance as well as acquiring housing. We thank the board, the city, and the recommending board and the HOPWA staff for really giving us the confidence to do the work that we do. We've not been called to the table since 2019, and with those comments and findings, we really have reworked our programs to make sure we are at a very low risk. As far as for the items that were listed on our analysis tool, for items number 3, right now, we are actually over the 50% mark. We had anticipated we were going to be just about the 40% during this time, and as of February, when we released that RFR to the city, we'll be about 57%.
And then as for the our untimely audits, we are aware of that. Although we have had the same auditors for the past 9 years, unfortunately for the past 2 years, and we have had new auditors right dead in the middle of our audits, and so we've had to catch them up, and it's been a lot of reworking of giving them the same information and that kind of thing. And so, as well as because it's switched over to digital where everything is uploaded and we are a 4-person staff, it was kind of cumbersome to do. We are in the process of looking for other auditors because we're so small, we're not necessarily high up on their priority list. So our treasurer is shopping around for other auditors because we are aware of that situation, and we are also working more closely with the auditors, where before then it was the board that was working more closely with them, and they had a deadline of September 1st because that's when our grant year for our agency is October to September. And so with us working more closely with the auditors, then we're able to more so hone in on when we're going to need that information. And we do work closely with HOPWA and get that draft over to them as quickly as possible and that kind of thing. But we are in the process of working on that as well.
For items number 7, Darnell Dewaney for the record, are for programmatic findings with CO detection requirements. This is something that our staff has overlooked. We were using the wrong form for the past couple of years, and with more guidance from our grant coordinators and technical assistants and our HOPWA roundtables, we've been able to really streamline and get those correct documents to make sure that we are properly executing our contract.
I do want to circle back to number 6 as well. Iria Ephraim, sorry for the record. Circling back to number 6 with regard to our decline in contributions. We are aware of that as well, and of our cash flow situation, and because of that, then we've been speaking with a possible someone who's going to be providing stewardship for us, because we are aware that with the smaller team and also with what's going on with the federal government, then things are very unsure and unsteady. And so with that, we've actually been speaking with someone since July of 2023 in regards to partnering with the stewardship, and for them to be able to provide financial assistance when we're not able to have that, or when our reimbursements are not necessarily in yet, and that kind of thing. And that will also grant us the ability to work with their teams when it comes to their funding resources for our annual Remit of Life. They'll be able to provide assistance with that, as well as we'll have access to their grant writing team to also look for those foundation grants and things like that, that with us and with a smaller team, we don't necessarily have the resources for in-house. And then with regard to the program budget for number 8, again, though HOPWA is our buildings are funded through HOPWA, we do, Golden Rainbow owns all of our buildings outright because of our, we received 2 grants through the Helmsley's Foundation. And so because of their donations, then we've been able to own those buildings outright. And they are very invested in making sure that those buildings remain programmatic to what Golden Rainbow does, which is helping those with HIV and AIDS who have nowhere else to go. And keeping them off the streets. They're very, very dedicated to that. As a matter of fact, our executive director spoke with the Helmsleys February 18th of this year because they did want to check on us because of what's going on with the federal government. And they again reassured us that they will do everything that it takes to make sure that our doors stay open and our housing program remains what it's meant to be. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your presentation. At this time, I'll open up the floor for any member of the board that may have questions for Golden Rainbow's Housing and Supportive Services. Uh-oh. I don't see any, so I will open the floor and call for a vote for funding, either funding or 20% reduction or decline for Golden Rainbow's supportive housing and supportive services. The chair recognizes member Haddad Bennett.
Thank you, Patricia Haddad Bennett. I'll go ahead and make a motion to continue full funding. I think you guys addressed many of our concerns and many of the staff's concerns, and glad to hear that there are some plans in place, and just hope to see those really come to life and come to fruition, and hopefully close some of those deals on those donors as well. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Do I have a second? Chair recognizes member Conyers.
Hi, I do motion to second, but I did want to ask, how many buildings do you guys currently own?
Darnell Dwiney for the record. We have 2 buildings with the total units of 12.
Total units for both is 12?
4 units for 1 property, 12 units for 1.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor that was presented by member Haddad Bennett and seconded by member Conyers to continue full funding for Golden Rainbow Housing and Supportive Services. Is there any discussion? Seeing those, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor of continuing funding the Golden Rainbow Housing and Supportive Services, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, it is unanimous. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your participation, and thank you, board members, for your patience and your work. Moving on to agenda item number 11, citizens' participation. Public comment during this portion of the agenda must be limited to matters within the jurisdiction of the board. No subject may be acted upon by the board unless the subject is on the agenda and is scheduled for action. If you wish to be heard, come forward and give your name for the record. The amount of discussion on any single subject, as well as the amount of time any single speaker is allowed, may be limited. Do we have anyone here for citizens' participation? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion for adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
We have a motion on the floor to adjourn by member Marlin. Is there a second?
McKnight, second.
And Co-Chair McKnight is second. All those, is there any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, and it seems to be unanimous. We will stand adjourned at 11:26 for the record. Thank you very much to the city, to Colleen, our city clerk's office, and we will stand adjourned.
Thank you.